From the Detroit Free Press, it's Wednesday. Here are today's top stories, presented by Bush's Fresh Food Market. Bush's has over 4,000 Michigan products, including the freshest fruit and vegetables, meat, seafood, and baked goods. Stop by one of Bush's 16 locations for the personal service you expect from your neighborhood grocer.
James Craig has got to go!
I'm Dave Boucher with the Detroit Free Press. Ex-Detroit Police Chief James Craig wanted to let Michigan know Tuesday he's ready to be governor. He ultimately accomplished that goal, but not until after roughly 50 protesters derailed an event planned for the Republican newcomer at Belle Isle. The protesters forced Craig to delay his long-anticipated gubernatorial announcement after they commandeered space behind his podium, chanting statements like Black Lives Matter and Hey, hey, ho, ho, James Craig has got to go. Eventually, Craig took to the microphone, but he was swarmed by the screaming crowd. He quickly said he's running for governor and left. Speeding away in a black SUV as the activists jeered and flipped him the bird. About 2 hours later, standing across the Detroit River atop the Icon building, Craig formally announced his campaign for governor and said protests only further his resolve.
You know what's sad about today and disappointing? That small group of paid protesters, I'll say it again, small group of paid protesters did nothing. What they did is reinforce why we need change.
Craig later acknowledged he had no proof any protesters were paid. While the GOP gubernatorial field is already crowded, Craig is generally seen as a leading contender to face Governor Gretchen Whitmer next year. He took aim at her pandemic policies, saying there's a failure of leadership in Lansing, and her decisions hurt Michigan businesses, seniors, and students. However, he largely steered clear of providing specific platform positions. He gave no alternative approaches to battling the pandemic and provided no clear answers on his top campaign issue. When asked how he wanted to approach fixing Michigan's infrastructure, he said, quote, "I didn't say that was one of my priorities. However, I do think our roads do need to be fixed." A recent Free Press poll found Craig and Whitmer running neck and neck. It's still early in the campaign season, and many people surveyed said they were not yet familiar with Craig. He's working to change that now, with events planned this week in Traverse City, Mackinac City, and the UP.
I'm Adrienne Roberts reporting for the Detroit Free Press. The unemployment rate in the city of Detroit is 25%, a figure that hasn't budged since last year, according to a recent University of Michigan survey. The city's jobless rate is down from a peak of nearly 48% in June of 2020, but it's still more than double what it was prior to the pandemic at 11%. Researchers noted that the findings paint a bleaker picture compared with other official sources, even from the University of Michigan. They say official sources underestimate how many Detroiters are out of the labor force who are jobless and are not looking for work because of age, ability, or a personal choice to not be working. Within the city, 42% of residents were out of the labor force in June and July, according to the latest survey, a figure that hasn't changed much throughout the course of the pandemic. The majority of residents in this group have been out of the labor force for more than 3 years, the survey found. Still, the researchers say that Detroit residents say they are looking for work. Of the residents surveyed who are unemployed, 77% say they were looking for work when they were surveyed in July.
This is Julie Hines of the Detroit Free Press. Saturday Night Live alum Jim Breuer said on his Facebook page that he won't perform at the Royal Oak Music Theater on October 1st because of its COVID-19 vaccination-proof policy. In his September 10 video post, Breuer said he wouldn't be appearing at the Metro Detroit venue because, in his own words, the segregation of them forcing people to show up with vaccinations to prove you're vaccinated, to prove that you've had a shot. I am absolutely not doing those shows. AEG Presents announced in August that it would require proof of COVID-19 vaccination for all of its U.S. venues, including the Royal Oak Music Theater and festivals. The policy is set to be in full effect by October 1st. An increasing number of theaters are requiring vaccination proof or measures like rapid COVID-19 testing to help stem the tide of the pandemic. Dave Chappelle, who co-starred with Breuer in the 1998 comedy Half-Baked, required on-site rapid COVID-19 tests at his recent Detroit concerts at the Fillmore Detroit. Patton Oswalt has canceled tour stops in Florida and Utah after the locations involved wouldn't honor his request for vaccination proof or proof of a negative COVID-19 test.
I'm Andrew Hammond for the Free Press Sports Department. Former Lions quarterback Matthew Stafford is having fun again. Well, that is according to his wife, Kelly Stafford. In the debut of her podcast, The Morning After with Kelly Stafford, the wife of the former Lions quarterback shared her thoughts on the entertaining debut of Stafford with the Rams on Sunday Night Football. She also mentioned that Matthew hadn't had fun playing football for a long time.
For more stories from the Detroit Free Press, be sure to check out freep.com. That's FREEP.com. If you're a fan and want to support our quality local journalism, subscribe. Go to freep.com/special offer.